Okay, the NFC West is still tight. We saw two very different games from the LA Rams. Last week, they put a 44 on the Bills of all teams.
Yeah.
Now they grind out this win in the rain. Kirk Herbstreit talked about it on the broadcast. He wouldn't want to be the team facing the Rams in the playoffs. Do you agree?
No. I mean, I think the Rams can be dangerous. We saw that last week. The weather obviously played a big factor for both teams in this game, and it's a great win. I'm not trying to take anything away, but the Rams have a very weak defense. Coming into this game, they were, I believe, 6th worst as yards per game on defense. I don't think they have a ton of talent there. So I look at, who they'd potentially be playing, and I get very, very worried about the defense. But offensively, I think the Bills fans saw last week that if Matthew Stafford gets hot and Puka Nacua gets going and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams, this team can definitely score points. They didn't deny it. I think the weather played a factor, but I get where he's coming from the offensive side of the ball.
Are you starting to put Nacua in the same conversation as like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson?
I think it's those two, like, by a long shot.
Right.
And he's definitely in the conversation of the next group for sure.
Yeah, he looks incredible out there right now. Now that he's healthy, of course. Niners. Are the Niners done?
Cooked.
They're
cooked. Absolutely cooked. I came here and I'm like, you know what, this team, they have a gauntlet of a schedule upcoming, but I said, hey, they're at home Thursday night, got a win last week. They win this game today, and they are tied with the Rams, and they got to assume that Seattle, who plays Green Bay on Sunday night, loses that game. They're one back there. I expected ferociousness.
Right.
I expected tenacity. Early on in the game, we have balls hitting us square in the chest on defense that we cannot come down with. Here's another one. Tips and overthrows. Got to get them. We don't get them. The offense looked putrid. The defense struggled to make plays late in the game. I talked about the effort there. It just isn't there.
Yeah.
And why I say they're cooked is, again, I understand it's been a tough year. I totally get that. But they had a chance to salvage this. You look at this again. Imagine if that record's 7-7 there. And the Seahawks have a very tough 2 games upcoming. They're at least in it. And for a veteran team who has been to the Super Bowl a couple times, has been kind of the big dog in the NFC for a long time, I expected this team to come out here and play with an intensity that was unmatched. And instead, in the second half, they looked uninterested. They looked confused. I mean, the last play, the first down to Colby Parkinson, we can't even get a motion correct. There are high schools in LaSalle, Ontario, who can adjust to that motion. There are. I've seen it. So, again, it's hard for me to sit here and say they're not cooked. I mean, they can't make the playoffs. There's really no path. They got Detroit in 2 weeks. Even Miami next week will be a tough game for them. And there's like no pride in the way they're playing, which is so shocking based on everything they've done the last few years.
And based on their personnel. And Deebo, he asked for the ball. They try to get it to him. Obviously, they're forcing the football to Deebo the whole game. Yeah, and he was still ineffective. What is I know you thought highly of him at one point. What's your read on how he struggled?
Jay, there was a saying, Greg Olsen gave me this saying in his final year playing. He said, in the NFL, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. He's clearly frustrating, so he squeaks a little bit.
Yep.
Do I like going to the Twitter sphere to do that? No, I think you can do that behind closed doors. He deletes it. It's a bit of a strange play, but sometimes guys can do that stuff to create a narrative. This was the first play of the game. Tough play, but you got to make that catch. Again, they focus him. It's 3-3 in the middle of the third quarter here on a 3rd and 10. It's a first down for sure. He makes one man miss, and this is potentially a touchdown. And as we see by the final score, those extra 4 points really would have mattered. We talked about this play earlier. Again, I actually don't think it's underthrown. I think they're just on different pages. Now, you can blame Brock for that. You can blame Deebo. But I sit here and say, like, if you are going to put yourself out there in front of the team, send that tweet out about not getting the ball, have those interviews, invite that kind of pressure, you need to come out and perform. And clearly the opposite happened today. And it was disappointing, again, because I sit here and I kind of wish that all those targets went to Kittle. Because it seems like this year, Kittle has made a lot of plays and got this team out of trouble for a lot of different games. And today he has the big play early, and they don't go to him that often.
So let's talk about Brock Purdy. Can we have a tough conversation about Brock Purdy?
Let's have a tough conversation.
Because I know, I think everyone just assumed, okay, this is last year of his rookie deal. This is really a great chance for the Niners. They can load up with everybody else. Now they're going to have to pay him, or do they not pay him? What do you do if you're the Niners?
So I think there's a sweet spot. Do you give him a max deal? no, and I think your argument, if you're in that front office, is look at the numbers this year. The saying in the NFL, you're only as good as the last game you played. So you're not going to get paid off what happened 2 years ago. If he came out last year with the numbers he had last season, he's getting a max deal. Right now, he's sitting about 12th going into this game. We'll see where these stats put him in QBR, passer rating. He's had a very, very mediocre year. So I sit here, and if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm John Lynch, I try and lock this guy out because I do think he's a very, very good quarterback. He's not had a great year. Hasn't been poor. Tonight was not great. But I sit here and say if you can get him in that $40 million range, which I know sounds like a crazy amount of money, but it's not 55.
Right.
You sign him. And then my next thing would be, all right, if for the people in the camp that are like, don't pay him, what quarterback out there right now can you pay less that you think will give you a better chance to win? I have a hard time believing that person exists. So I think there's a sweet spot where it's somewhere in that $40, $45 million range. You pay him off this year's stats, everybody's happy, and it gives you an extra $10 million against the cap to maybe keep a star player.
All right, we'll text John Lynch. We'll see what he has to say about your theory. Luke, you mentioned that Seahawks Green Bay Packers game coming up Sunday night. We want the ball, and we're going to score. We know the history between these two teams.
Yes.
It is going to be huge. The Packers currently 9-4. The Seahawks currently 8-5. Green Bay a 2.5-point favorite. They've won 7 of their last 9. What are you expecting on Sunday?
Well, I expect a great game. Seahawks defense has been a lot better. I love the way Josh Jacobs, the bell cow, has gone here. It's going to be a physical game in Seattle. December games, always a little missed usually. So I expect it to be good, but I expect it tonight to be fireworks. And it was a snooze fest, and I'm very upset about it, Jay. I'm very upset.
Your Seahawks better make up for it. Let's go, Jordan Love. Let's go, Dino.
We need it.
Just an old-fashioned shootout.
Yes, no football fan deserved what we just saw tonight. We didn't deserve that.
But here's what you do deserve, and you will get. You'll get us.